So for this video, I'm going to be teaching you a little bit of my favorite tactic for post-game grinding. A lot of this is based on, number one, gaining experience and levels, and number two, gaining some of the rarer crafting materials that you're going to need to get some of your gear ready for the post-game end game. If you haven't gotten a trial isle yet, there's, a little bit of confusion here, but if you haven't gotten to the post game at all, you can still use some of these tactics. The only warning is that there is going to be a spoiler in this video, and that's going to be who your 8th party member is. If that's okay with you, feel free to keep watching, but if not, feel free to click off. I won't be offended. So the first thing we're going to do is head to Trial Isle. We're going to talk to this guy right in the front first room here, get us a full heal. Then we're going to go inside. This does go off the 3rd trial, so we're going to come over to the right and enter the Luminaries trial. Once we're inside, to get to my preferred spot, we're going to first get inside the castle, down to that door off to the right. Just follow the path around. You shouldn't get lost here. You can kind of hug the wall to either side. You won't have to fight that if you don't want to. This method does require that you have already beaten this trial, or at least gotten close to it. So if you haven't gotten there, spend some time exploring. And what we're really looking for is to be able to get into this room here. We're going to drop right off the side, and then we're going to ride a dragon up to the top, the 4th floor. Once we have our dragon, we're going straight up to the top. And when we get there, we're going to use the south door. If you're directionally challenged, that's the door that's going to be at the bottom of the map. So we get to the top. You can see where I am here. That's the south door. Gonna go out that door, and we're gonna come over to the right side. You don't have to fight that if you don't want to. And we're gonna teleport across. Once we're here, there's really 5 types of enemies that you're gonna come across. First is those big red guys. They're red giants. Second is the Dark Hunter, I think. Don't quote me on that. They're the ones on the horse behind it. There's the Dark Dullahan, which looks like the guy riding that horse, but not on a horse. There's King Cure Slimes, and there's King Metal Slimes. When you're first getting going with this, you'll see a lot of King Metals that are hanging around with these guys on the horses, and on the lower levels with the Dark Dullahans. If you can kill them, great. If not, don't worry about it too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our lineup. There's 2 ways to go about this. I like to have a dedicated healer, so I keep Serena on me pretty much 24/7 all day, every day. The other 3 you're going to need are a little open to what you're trying to do. I prefer to have the hero, Jade, and Sylve. Once we start getting through the tactics we're going to use, we're going to gradually switch them out. And the main key for this is going to be Eric. Eric is going to need 2 skills. One is Critical Claim, which is at the top of the Guile skill tree. And the other is Half Inch, which is kind of toward the center, a little bit off to the left. If you don't know what those are, Half Inch steals an item from an enemy, and Critical Claim is a guaranteed critical hit. Critical Claim is very, very useful against the metal enemies that you're going to come across, which are the metal slimes and even the metal hands if you happen to find some of those. It's a guaranteed critical hit, and it will kill any of them in just 1 hit. If you don't have that, Jade has Thunderstruck. It doesn't hit very often, but when it is, it's also a critical hit. It'll still kill them in 1 shot. So the strategy for this is once we start fighting and people eventually start getting pepped up, what we're going to do is rotate them out. So if my hero gets pepped up, I'm going to take him, put him into the standby team. I put Eric out, and then I can start using Half Inch. The reason for that is once they get pepped up, if you put them into the standby party, they do not lose their pep until you take them out and start fighting. Next person to get pepped up, switch them out. And then once my last person is pepped up, the three you're going to need are the hero, Jade, and Sylve. And the reason for that is they have a pet power called Electrolyte. If you don't know what that is, it basically brings out a bunch of metal slimes for you to just get serious experience points. The trick with using Electrolyte is that it's actually a little bit based on level. So depending how high of a level you are, that'll determine what kind of metal slimes you get. At level 50, you typically get 3 vicious metal slimes. At level 60, you get 2 vicious metal slimes and 1 liquid metal slime. At level 70, you get a vicious metal king and 2 liquid metals. You want to try to take out the higher grade monsters first. Those would be the king metals followed by the liquid metals. The king metal itself is worth about roughly 161,000 experience. So we're going to cut to another scene that I pre-recorded. It's using 2 pet powers. One is Hallelujah, which increases your experience and gold drop from a fight. And the second is Electrolyte, so we'll show you how that works.
Here.
And go.
Yeah!
Showtime!
I can't wait!
Presto! Introduce.
So pretty!
Time for a shock.
So once you've used your pet powers, you can switch your party back or keep Eric out or however you like to do it. If you're comfortable with your fighting skills and ability to not die, you can switch out Eric for your healer. Doesn't really make a difference, it's all personal preference. So the reason I like to keep Eric is because of his half-inch ability in this area. As far as the drops, the Dark Dullahan can give you a zombie mail, which isn't great, but you can sell it for a little extra cash. The Dark Hunter, which is the guy on the horse, can give you an ethereal stone, which is a crafting material. The King Cure Slime can give you Gooberkint. The Red Giant can give you an Uber Agate of Evolution. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but it's used for a lot of the higher end crafting materials. And any of the metal slimes can give you Molten Globules. That should be a post-fight drop because you should really be focusing on killing them unless you're level 99 and you don't have to worry about the experience you're going to get. The next thing that we're going to kind of farm is money. You do need it for a lot of your crafting supplies and whatever else you could possibly want. So we're going to come up to the First Forest Railway Station. We're going to ride Cetacea up there. And what we're really looking for is an enemy called the Hooper Duper. It's basically a downgraded version of Booga that you fought throughout the main story. Any of these fights can give you a Hooper Duper, but that is what they look like. When you get up to them, have Eric out, use half-inch, you'll get a shield called a Devilry Drinker. It's actually the same shield I use on Serena. Each of those will sell for 30,000 gold, each and every time. The next thing we're going to farm is mini metals. They're actually required to get a lot of the high-end gear and recipes that you're going to need if you plan to go ahead and fight the final boss. We're going to come over to the Disciples Trial for that one. Once you're at the Disciples Trial, pretty easy to get where you need to go. First you duck and weave across that enemy that pops out at you. Then you're going to kind of follow the path until you get to the big open room where all the other pathways are. Once you're here, you can really go just about any direction. You'll eventually fall through the floor, and that's what we want, because on the lower level, there's a bunch of enemies, if I could find where the floor breaks. There's a bunch of enemies that look like slot machines. A lot of them are right in the middle. Some of these are actually enemies, some just give you casino tokens. But the ones that spawn over here, once you have Eric out, you use half-inch on those, and most of the time they will give you a mini medal. You can farm this as much as you want, and eventually you'll have enough to go get some serious gear. So those are the main things that you're going to want to farm in the post-game. If you want to see anything else, just let me know in the comments. I will do my best to explain it as well as I can. Thank you for watching, and happy grinding.